What's a good word, everyone? It's your boy DKB here. I just want to say thanks for all the support. The channel's been steadily growing, and the number you see below, you can drop a text, shoot a voicemail, any ideas, topics, collabs, etc. you guys want to see. I'll include them in future videos and live streams, and I'll catch you again. Be easy. What's the good word, Jets fans? It's your boy DKB here. And we got a chance to hear from Garrett Wilson after the first open practice of phase 3 of OTAs for the New York Jets under Aaron Glenn. And we finally got a bit of a peek behind the scenes, right? A reveal into the thought process as things were winding down on the Robert Saleh, Joe Douglas regime, but also what his focus is moving forward. And we've talked, I won't even say ad nauseum, but enough about the contract extensions for Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson as two of the most important cornerstones on either side of the ball for the New York Jets right now. So let's talk about some of the comments that we've heard from him, right? The headliner here would be he's mentioned that he's hopeful he's a Jet for life. Specifically, I'm hopeful I'm a Jet for life and that we get this thing rolling and that all of our best days are ahead of us. And this comes after a couple significant changes. Aaron Glenn coming in, and I think the way in a short span of time that he's gone about making sweeping changes within this organization was enough to undo 3 years of not only just consistent losing under Robert Saleh and the OC changes, et cetera, but also to just put him in the right mind frame, right? And I think he's always as a player been focused on winning and focused on the process itself. And I think this stems from Ohio State. This stems from working under Brian Hartline, who's churned out a ton of NFL caliber wide receivers. But he's talked about how Brian Hartline not only fosters a largely competitive environment, which I think wasn't necessarily always the case under Saleh. I think they just did a great job of finding guys that fit the scheme on defense, but offensively it was never really an organization that felt like they knew what they were doing, right? So this is a good change of pace for Garrett Wilson here, right? I think the mindset change is huge and really a big credit, a big star on Aaron Glenn's resume right out of the gate that you have your two cornerstones both speaking highly about and not only speaking highly, but having a large level of interest in making sure that they get a contract done. So he goes on to say that there have been a few discussions here and there when it comes to contract extensions between Garrett Wilson and the New York Jets. Doesn't really expand on if that's with the new regime. You'd have to assume so, or if that's just some stuff that was touched on when Joe Douglas was still present. But I would imagine that, us being a month or so past the draft now already, or actually, yeah, I think it was end of April, right? So a month or so past the draft, that would have been enough time for Darren Muji to at least make contact and start touching base on what the frame of a deal may look like, or at least what the mindset and ballpark range that Garrett Wilson and company are looking at. Now, he does also touch on the fact that the Justin Fields being another huge factor here, right? With Aaron Rodgers, I think the allure from Garrett Wilson's perspective is I haven't had an OC that I really feel confident in since LaFleur. I haven't had a quarterback that I can really consistently expect to be able to get me the ball, but also just at a bare minimum execute the offense at a high level. And so with Aaron Rodgers coming in, you see the Super Bowl championship, you see the Hall of Fame jacket that's coming to him, and you understand the amount of experience that he has, the intelligence, and what he can offer on the field for you. And it really should have been a heaven-made matchup for Garrett Wilson to at least get, kind of, I feel like almost like experience share, right? Pokemon, comparison here, but it's almost kind of him getting double XP just by being around Aaron Rodgers and all that he has to share, etc. But it didn't really work out. I don't know if it was the age gap. I don't know if it was the lack of mobility that Aaron Rodgers was showing, and so there wasn't as many opportunities for him to actually get in there and do what he was going to do. That is significant Achilles injury in year one of what there was supposed to be again, a match made in heaven for them, played a huge piece. And then when he comes back and you insert in Devontae Adams and stuff, there's a ton of different points that you can see where there would have been failures. And then, of course, probably Aaron Rodgers continuing to go back to, California. So it's not like he's consistently around the team and all those different elements too. And so for whatever reason, it didn't work. We're moving on this new day and age, but with Justin Fields, there's a huge level of comfort here, right? This is the ideal situation. This would be like if you could have matched up Shador with Travis, or you look at um, I was going to say Joe Brady, but you look at Jamar Chase, and you look at, why can't I recall the dude's name? But the Bengals quarterback. You look at some of those matchups where teams were able to pull things like that off, and it makes all the more sense why Garrett Wilson would be excited. He does say that he trusts him. He trusts me. I trust him. We've got a good communication. That we speak to each other well. We know exactly what we're thinking, and that's so key. And this is what every fan should be excited about, right? Because Justin Fields in college, as many of you have pointed out in the comments on the few videos I've touched on this before, Justin Fields in college was a much different quarterback than what he had to evolve to be with the Chicago Bears and with the Steelers, because he hasn't had a great infrastructure, a failing offensive line. The Bears got him a wide receiver one in DJ Moore, but if you can't have time to throw, you can't really put up, do a lot of magic there. And even then, it took some work to build that relationship, right? You're talking about working with somebody from scratch, and then having to earn the trust, have to earn the same thinking process, or create the same thinking process and things like that. With Garrett Wilson, you've been there, you've done that. So obviously you have to touch back in and figure out some of those same cues and different things, much like we've seen with Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, or Aaron Rodgers and even Alan Lazard. But it's there. You've seen it before. It should be relatively quick to be able to come and get that back together. And so now you start looking at it from a situational football perspective. You say a lot of those deep shots that were missed before with Garrett Wilson, or a lot of those times where he was open, Justin Fields has seen him run a ton of these routes before. He's seen how he's broken some of his routes. He's seen how, based on certain maybe physical archetypes or certain matchups that he's had, what his mentality is, right? He has a slower guy that maybe is more physical. So there's going to be more opportunities for him to try to hit deep. And as long as he can pull that safety away, that's what he's looking for. And I think from Garrett Wilson's perspective, as long as he's being incorporated consistently throughout the course of a game, and not that he needs to be peppered with 15 million targets. That's going to be the huge plus. Just finishing out his comments here, he does also say we're trying to get the best out of each other. That goes back 5, 6 years now. So I love everything that I've been hearing from Garrett Wilson as a guy that sounds reinvigorated, enthusiastic about what this new regime is, and then, of course, having Justin Fields at the helm. But we also can't forget some of the comments that Aaron Glenn also left during his OTA press conference as well. And when he was asked about Garrett Wilson and what he means to his offense and what the plan is, it was pretty black and white, as we know Aaron Glenn to be. Get him the ball as much as possible. So, of course, that had to be music to his ears. And I'm sure in some of the conversations that him and G5 have already had, he's made it well known. You're clearly far and away the best weapon on this offense, not named Breece Hall. You are going to be a pivotal factor in what makes us win or lose on Sundays. So I'm really excited about this. I don't know what the framework of a deal would look like, right? Garrett Wilson, again, repeatedly say this probably every video I touch on with this, the hardest 1,000-yard receiver that I can recall in some time, with what he's had to deal with and the factors at play. So he deserves every penny, every dollar. But let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you again. Peace.